everyone, we're back with a brand new video, and I'm going to start with my usual disclaimer. Once again, I'm in the four-wheeled studio, aka my car, so if there's any variances in audio quality, please attribute it to that. Now, with that being said, let's jump right in. Audio had gotten cut and didn't even know it. I was just going through and doing my thing, and I looked up and it hadn't recorded. So take two, let's try it again, and hopefully the audio takes this time. But getting back into what I wanted to talk about, the USA men's basketball team, they defeated Germany 92-88 in the last of their showcase, or their exhibition, or the warm-up games prior to the Paris games starting. And it was a pretty close game all the way through. Germany actually had the lead with like 3 or 4 minutes to go in the game, and I have to give LeBron James some credit. He came up big down the stretch. He scored the US's like 11, their last 11 straight points to help power Team USA to victory. But he was the team's leading scorer. I think he had like 26-4 or something like that. I'm driving, and like I said, I only briefly looked at the statistics. I think was it Joel Embiid had 15, I believe. Wardell Curry had 13. I think AD had 11, and Ant-Man had 10, I think, if memory serves me correctly. So those are the guys who got in double figures. And yeah, it was, like I said, it was a closely contested game. So the U.S. makes it through their exhibitions. I can't even talk right now. The exhibition portion of the season undefeated. And I watched at least part of most of the games. And though they did win the games, as I see it, this team is shaky, man. They are shaky. There's a couple things that I see in terms of the personnel and how they approach the game, but also a systemic issue in terms of USA basketball. So let me just start with what I see from them as a team that I find troubling. And I saw it again in this game in Germany, against Germany. They were actually playing in London. Was the fact that there was a lot of times I just really saw a half-baked effort out there, particularly on the defensive end. I know that Germany only shot like 36% from the floor, but here's the thing: Germany missed quite a few open shots, and it wasn't like the U.S. was playing suffocating 94 feet of defense. You know, this wasn't like a situation where it was Nolan Richardson's 40 minutes of hell type defense. It just wasn't. I saw a lot of, like I said, missed open shots. I mean, there were stretches here and there where they made good defensive plays, but at times I thought the effort was not there. And that either let Germany get back into the game and take the lead, or let them extend the lead. And you would think at this point, at this height of basketball, this high of the level, considering what's on the line, effort is something you shouldn't have to worry about. That should just be a given. But there were times where it was sorely lacking. I think offensively, they try to play an NBA style, and it doesn't work. And that, I want to kind of come back to that, because that's a symptom of another issue. They didn't quite turn the basketball over as much, because that had really been a bugaboo for them in previous games, turning the basketball over. They did a better job of securing the ball in this game, but in the majority of their games, it's been an issue, and they're going to have to clean that, and they're going to have to clean that up quick, fast, and in a hurry. Yeah, I'm just concerned about the effort. I'm concerned about the turnovers. I'm concerned about the offensive continuity or lack thereof. And a good team is going to be able to beat them. And I'm going to be honest, I would not be surprised if this team does not win the gold medal. I mean, my expectations is that they're going to win, but it wouldn't be like this huge shock. Like when, who was it? When Nigeria beat the U.S. team a couple years ago, and how that reverberated through the basketball world. To me, it wouldn't be that big of a shock because I see a lot of the glaring weaknesses of this team, and they can be beat. I look at it like when I watch them. Here's the thing: it's not, and this is why I think the talk of them being able to beat the dream team is just absolutely absurd. Because, and I know you're going to say, well, the other teams in the world have gotten better. And yes, that is true. And again, I'm going to come back to that. When they came out, the dream team did not come out just to win. Okay? They came out to make a statement. They came out to let these teams know that it was Team USA down up here and everyone else down here. You can settle out who's going to come in second, because not only are we going to beat you, we're going to beat you so convincingly that you know you don't have a chance. You know, there's nobody, and I forget who mentioned it on the video, where it might have been Uncommon Sense or I forget. If I get it wrong, please attribute it just to my age. But the point is so valid. Like when in 92, when they asked Charles Barkley about when they were playing Angola, and he said, I don't know anything about Angola, but Angola's in trouble. And see, there's nobody on that team that has that mindset to say, look, I don't know anything about South Sudan, but they're in trouble. Germany's in trouble. Cuba's in trouble. Germany's in trouble. Whoever we play. See, the difference is the dream team went out there to make a statement. This team, they're going out there just to try to win. Like, they just want to win. They don't, it doesn't seem like they want to dominate. Where you want to send a message, even in the exhibition. So when the Olympics starts, it's going to be more the same. We're going to kick your butt the same way over in this country, just like we did in that country. You don't have a chance. You might as well give it up. And I don't see that mentality. But then that speaks to the guys on the team that you know there's not really that guy or those guys that have that step on your throat type of mentality. They just want to hoop and win, and then however they do it, they do it. And here's something that I heard here, and here's the other issue I think. So I can kind of getting this out of the way. The other issue, and this is what I said earlier, was a systemic issue. When you watch these games, and this has been true in international play for so long, you hear about that these guys have played together for years. For years, a lot of these guys have played together. And what does that mean? When you play with a group of guys, or you play as a team, you know how they move. You know where they want the ball. You know, we can do this on this play. I know you do this, and you can play off each other because you develop that chemistry over years of playing and practicing together, that you know the ins and outs of each other's games like the back of your hands, and that bears itself out on the court. It's kind of similar to, well, I get to that. Whereas the U.S., you play together for a few weeks, and I get it. Overall, the United States has the most talented player. Let's not get it confused. They do. But it's like in college basketball. You have, say, a Kentucky, Duke, or some of these blue chip schools, but I'm going to use Kentucky as an example. They would bring in, five stars, a 5-star at every position. And they would be hooping for a lot of the season. But you get into a tournament, or you get into some of these games where they're playing some of these mid-majors, and the games are always close. Despite the obvious and the glaring talent disparity, the reason why those games are often close is because the guys on that other team, they've played together for years. So they know each other. They know the system. And because they've been there for years, they've built a culture within that program, and all of those things gives them confidence. They know what to do, they know how to execute, and it allows them to stay in a game and win sometimes against a team that's more talented, because despite all that talent, they're young, they make mistakes, and that experience, that knowledge allows them to capitalize on that. And it's the and that's we have the international equivalent of that. Those other teams have built a program, and we take the AAU approach. And if you will recall, I'm getting into something else, the late, great Kobe Bryant warned us about this for a decade ago when he talked about, and I'm kind of getting into something else I want to say in wrapping this up, but you get these guys together for a few weeks and they don't have that, they don't have that ability to play off each other, the chemistry, the things of that nature that only comes from years of playing with the guys or a group of guys in that system and in that program. Because in so many of these other countries, playing for the national team is an honor held in such high esteem. These guys fight and claw to get into, they get these guys into the national program young, and they bring them along. So by the time they get on the senior national team, they played together for years in international competitions, and whether they go somewhere and play professionally, they come back to do that because it means that much to them. With us in the U.S., it's like the example that I've used. If the gold medal is a girl and you have the girl and you take it for granted that the girl is always going to be yours, and she leaves, and then once she leaves, or it looks like you're about to lose, or you lose, all of a sudden you care. Then all of a sudden you want to take notice, and that happened. You saw it in 2008. When they put together and they went and got Kobe, and then, playing on the team meant something. Then it waned off again until, the FIBA games, and even in the last Olympics, and then the last international competition, they sent the level D team over there and they got smoked. So then after that, all of a sudden, it meant something again, and that's why you have all the name brand recognition, the name brand guys that decided to play. So, in that sense, it's a very AAU approach. You just take guys that are, you take great individual players and put them on the same team, but you have to go out and play guys who may not be as great, singularly talented as 1 through 12 or 1 through 13 on the U.S. team are a great team. You see what I'm saying? And so because of that, that's one of the reasons you see this. And getting back to what Kobe said, and when people talk about the world has caught up, has basketball around the world improved? Absolutely. I'm not going to sit here and say that it didn't. But as attention to basketball and teaching it in other countries has improved, in America, it's devolved. Okay. And when Kobe talked about the AAU system and how it's ruined basketball, in that quote, and he talks about how when he was in Italy, the coaches would come over and they taught those guys the fundamentals of the game. And it's one of the things that made the Dream Team so great. Yes, they were all individually great players. They were some of the greatest, including the greatest on the team to ever do it. But most of those guys were fundamentally sound. So their game was rooted in the fundamentals of basketball. Excuse me. And so because we have went away from that and relying so much more, on flashy skills and athleticism, and rather than adherence to building your game on fundamentals and then going off that, it's helped the other teams, or not other, teams, the other countries, close that gap in a lot of ways. Because you take those guys, what is the biggest complaint that so many longtime fans have about the current professional product in the United States is that these players today are not fundamentally sound. It's an over-reliance on three-point shooting, and athleticism, and that's cool for a time, but eventually you're going to get older, and no matter how many drugs you take, I'll leave that where it is, eventually your athleticism is going to taper off. You're going to have to know how to play the game. And that goes to how the game is even taught over here, which it is severely flawed. To where you have, and here's an example I use in closing. You have a kid in high school. He's very athletic. He may not be able to shoot or do some of the other things, but he's he's bigger than everyone else in middle school, and he's allowed to use that. And he gets to high school, and he dunks his way through high school, and some of these coaches, rather than maybe pulling it back in terms of, all right, teaching him the game, and maybe sacrificing, instead of you scoring 40 over here, maybe you just scored 30 or 28 or whatever, and help you build a solid foundational fundamental base to your game. Hope they're just trying to win games. So you dunk all your way through high school. The same thing happens in college. You dunk all your way through college. You get drafted. And now you're in the league of professionals, and you don't know how to play basketball. And so now, in some ways, the NBA has become a paid developmental league, because you've got guys, while uber athletic, have no fundamental base on which they've built their game on. And that's why and that's one of the reasons the game looks the way that it does now. And bringing that back to the international level, in a lot of ways, the American basketball, unfortunately, is being exposed. And if we don't do anything about it, because it's got to start with, I would not even say the generation below these guys. It's got to start with the guys who are, maybe in middle and high school now. You've got to teach those guys the fundamentals now, to root their game strongly in that. And as they grow and develop, and then they add those things to it, instead of trying to do it, we try to do it the other way around. You want to get to the NBA and then learn how to shoot. You want to get to the NBA and then learn how to dribble. And that's not how the game is taught. And so that's what we're seeing right now. And if not only USAA basketball, but it's going to take the people teach the game in all levels to really, excuse me, what it's going to take, let me back up. It's going to take a paradigm shift in terms of how the game is coached, how the game is taught, and amongst the players themselves, and how they're going to approach the game. So it's basically going to require an almost complete overhaul, on how the game is approached in this country, if you want to right the ship. Because the question will be, if not, then the question will be, well, man, how can we catch back up and reclaim our place atop the Mount Olympus of basketball? But that's all I've got. What do you think about, if you watched the game today, what is your assessment of Team USA through these first 6 games? And what do you think about my assessment of the team? And then what do you think? Let's have a conversation about it. But as always, I like to thank you all for spending a few moments with me. And please, 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 tell the ones that you love them. Peace.